And guys, so for people who don't know me, my name is Damon Stewart. Of course, Apostle gave me, I guess, she told my business, right? But, it's okay. Love you, Apostle. So I'm talking about financial opportunities for the kingdom. And the first thing we're going to do is going to read from Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. And so that's Deuteronomy, the eighth chapter, and we're reading the 18th verse. And it says, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. So, I mean,
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
a lot of times, like, I'm not a preacher, right? So I don't know what to say regarding this. But for me, I feel like you have opportunity in a lot of different places. Most times we don't know where the opportunity is coming from, right? So we don't have the eye to spot the opportunity. So I'm going to show you one opportunity that's, backed by the state and the federal government, something that you can benefit from day one, and you can also, as you progress through the years, you'll also see a compounding effect where, it might be small to start, but over the time, you'll see a larger benefit. Because I was reading this book at our company, I worked with Sunrun, and I was reading this book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And it was just really saying what he was actually saying was, for making a small, inconsequential change to your life. For example, this guy, he gave an example. The guy just took one, for example, he stopped eating dessert, which I don't know, add how many calories, right? So he just stopped eating calories, a certain amount of calories from his dessert, or he just omitted dessert from his life, right? And of course, the first 30 days, there's no effect, right? Just like when you go to the gym, you're not gonna get abs or get strong arms the first day you go into the gym, right? So, but it was like at the 18th month mark, which you have to be dedicated to something, right, for 18 months,
Mm.
and that's when he starts to see, a significant decrease in his weight compared to his peers who continue to live their, eat however they want to eat and stuff like that. I'm not talking about a marginal increase. I'm talking about big gaps, right? So the very small thing that you might think that is inconsequential, over time, you're going to see a really huge effect, right? So that's what I'm going to go through. So for many who might not know, Sunrun is the largest solar and battery storage company in the United States, residential solar. Um, Started a while back, I think in 2007. Now they're like the biggest company in the entire industry in the United States. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through, like, for example, the purpose of our today's TED Talk, right? The purpose of today's talk is, basically over the past 5 years, or maybe 12, 10 years, you may have seen that a lot of people are adopting solar. So you might drive around your neighborhood and you see this thing going up on people's roof, right? And so I want to explain kind of what is the cause of this rapid adoption in solar, which is, it's not very hard, right? And then also I want to go through what the process is to go solar, right? So if anyone has ever heard of this, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, was enacted in 2022 by President Joe Biden. And it covered a couple of things. I just want to kind of go over, briefly the things that it actually um, covers, and then we're going to hone in on that one thing that we actually want to do, right? So the first thing is, we know we have a big budget deficit in the United States, so it was enacted to tackle that one, and also lowering the prescription drug prices, which if you leave it to these capitalist companies, it'll be ridiculous, right? So what we want to really focus on is they allotted a couple $1 billion, a lot of $1 billion to invest in clean energy, the sun, the wind, nuclear actually too, but while promoting domestic production, oil production, right? So the Clean Energy Act, like I said, this is actually a federal act. So New Jersey has, I will go over that also when I get there, but New Jersey have their own state mandate regarding clean energy, but the federal government, their mandate was for us to be like 40% clean energy, which means every state in the union, every utility that operates in every state in the union has to be 40%. I'll get their electricity from 40% clean energy sources, wind, solar, however else, right? By 2030. That's the state's mandate. And through the IRA, they allotted $369 billion for all states. Of course, $369 billion is a lot of money, but for every state, considering how many homes that you have in each state and how many homes that are eligible for solar, it's not really a lot of money. So, while yes, that is still there. Um, and also, so it's to provide funding for clean energy projects, including tax credits. You may have heard, when you buy a new Tesla or a new Volt or F-150 Lightning, you get something like $7,000 in rebate. Yes. For also energy efficient appliances, EVs, as I told you, electrical vehicles, and home energy upgrades. So this act also includes a range of credits and deductions for businesses and entities, those that are involved in advanced energy projects and also clean electricity generation, like Sunrun, right? So that's how Sunrun benefits. And of course, while you have these utilities that are trying to actually beat the target or at least be 100%, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So, but maybe I'll explain it, the next slide. So for New Jersey's mandate, New Jersey's a little bit more ambitious, right? So instead of 40% by 2030, when it actually first was enacted in 2018, Governor Philip Murphy actually mandated that all utilities operated in New Jersey, PSE&G, JCP&L, ACE, and anything else, they're supposed to be 100% carbon free by 2050. He later adjusted it to 100% carbon free. 100% carbon free means all of their energy generation for electricity in New Jersey has to be from a clean energy source. And they have bumped that up to 2035. We're 10 years away, right? So their goal is by 2050 to be net negative emission. Like, I don't know what I use net negative, but I kind of get what they're saying. They want by 2050, no generation should come from oil, gas, coal, nothing like that, right? And moreover, so the energy mandate that New Jersey's instituted is shut down. I don't know if you've seen this in the news. All the oil and the coal power plants, nuclear power plants in New Jersey have to be shut down. So essentially what we're doing now in New Jersey, this light that we're using right here, I'll just, if you can guess, right? Where do you think this electricity is coming from? No, what state? Further than that. Okay, so we go as far north as Canada. I don't know if you remember with the tariffs when Canada was threatening to increase 25% on certain states, not every state, but us in New Jersey, as far north as Canada is where we get our that electricity that we're using now. Also, as far south as where Brother Justin is coming from, right? Florida, right? So if you look at your utility bill, you're going to see what's called a delivery fee. We're all familiar with that. We're on Amazon, Temu, all these things, so we know that we're paying for. We're paying for these delivery fees, right? Sheen, all this, we order online all day. But if you look at your actual bill, it's almost 50% of. So if you're using $100 in electricity per month, they're going to charge you something like close to $50 to deliver the electricity to you, right? On top of that, right? On top of that, we have an aging infrastructure that PSNG have to consistently be, they can't take down the whole grid, the poles and the wires, right? They can't take it down because we can't do without power for 1 hour, right? Much less days. Right? If you remember Sandy, we went without power for days, right? So so with for the utilities, a failure to meet the standard by 2035 is going to result in fines. And I'm no expert, but I think that they'll pass through these fines to ratepayers, right? Because they're in the business of making money. But why would they want to eat the cost? Right? Um, so, so what I wanted to actually show you first, right? Let me go back. Is the process. So my talk is going to be simple. It's going to be really, really simple and really fast, right? So how the process goes for adopting solar, right? The first thing is would be a consultation. So that would be sitting down with someone. They'll actually assess what your energy needs are by looking at your bill, and your bill will actually show you for 12 months, 13 months, how much power you use every single month. So that's the consultation. And then there's a home review. That's where the gentleman will someone will actually come to your home. Then there's a design approval. Then you go to permitting. After that is installation. After installation, then you have a city inspection. Then you have a PSENG inspection, and then they give you a PTO, which is a permission to operate. Right. So for the consultation, it should be anywhere from 30 to actually an hour. I've been in consultation for 3 hours because there's people have their own questions about solar, and this is where I would actually explain what the state's objective is adopting solar, right? So one of the things I would explain is how solar works. How is solar going to benefit your home and protect? Like with solar, we'll tell people this, and this is something that everyone in solar does. We don't sell solar panels; we sell price protection. So with PSENG, they actually have to raise their rates to keep pace with whatever the reason, right? PSENG is still a company that actually gives their employees a pension, and it's adjusted yearly for inflation. So costs are going up for the poles, the wires, the manpower, everything. So they're passing through all of the costs associated with the business to the ratepayer, right? I'll explain that to you and actually how solar works, right? The solar panel goes on top of your roof, and when the sun hits the panel, let's say everybody's at work or at school, your home is going to produce more power than you're using because there's nobody home, or maybe one person home who's just watching TV, very little power, right? The excess power that your system is creating, which is going to create a really exorbitant amount of power, right? It has to go back out to PSENG. So it goes through the wires that bring the power to your home. It goes back out in that way. And PSENG will store that power for you as a credit. So when you come home in the evening, there's no sun in the sky, and you're using the lights, your TVs are on, you're making dinner, the kids are, doing homework, then you're just going to use the power that you created in the day. And that process just continues every single day. Thankfully, like the most consistent thing I know in my life is the sun, right? Every single day it's out. Even if it's gloomy, you can tell it's still daylight, right? So your panels are always going to create power. And the excess PSEG is like a bank for you. So, you get your paycheck. Let's say you take out whatever percentage you need to sustain your life, and the remainder is going to go into your account. So whenever there's an issue, you can always draw from that. It's the same thing. And that process just repeats every single day. In the summertime, when we have longer days, and more sun hours, you're going to create the majority of your power for the entire year. So when it hits wintertime, December, January, February, March, when we have shorter days, what you just do is just draw from the power that you've already created. And the power that is remaining just gets rolled over to the next month. You guys remember the rollover minutes that we used to have back in the day? All right, so it just rolls over into the next day. Sun comes up again, makes more, PSEG collects, rolls over if whatever you have left over. And that process just continues for the entire year, right? So during the consultation, what I would do is I put an application for Sunrun and an application for PSEG on file, right? You would have to initialize that. And at that time I set the site survey, right? I was going to show you this. And also, I don't know if you guys ever seen these little, yes. Can you guys see that? Yes. Okay, you see the solar panels that's on the pole? Yeah. So PSEG started doing that in 2010, 2011. This is like a $515 million investment. And this is supposed to create about 200,000. No, I'm sorry, they did install about 200,000 of these. And what it does, it just creates power all day long and says it to PSEG. So they can try their best to meet the mandate that they have, New Jersey had, right? Which was to be, I think, if it's not, utilities have to create 30% of their power by 2030 from renewable energy, right? And of course, this there's a question that they have us ask in the consultation. Which one of you, right, have an appliance in your home that you rely on every single day that's over 100 years old?
Me. You're not quiet.
Right?
The boiler?
Huh?
The boiler?
So name me an appliance. Brother Manning might be onto something, but name me an appliance that you rely on daily, which you don't use daily though. That is over 100 plus years old. Nothing, right? Right? Because we have to get them upgraded. But the grid that you see here, this was actually built when we actually started using leather helmets in football. So 100 plus years ago, and it's exposed. We love our trees in New Jersey, and when we have storms, they fall on the poles. It's just something that just happens. And on top of that, exposed to environmental factors. So the wood, of course, the wires and stuff like that, they have to be constantly changed and upgraded by PSEG, right? So they actually thought about a couple of things, a couple of solutions, right? The first one was nuclear, which is amazing. We love nuclear because you get a lot of energy, you get very little what do you call it, pollution, right? Emissions, right? However, people don't want that in their backyard because if you try to get an approval from any kind of a township, it's going to be hard pressed because people are going to come against it. All right, so that didn't work. Second solution they came up with was the wind. And New Jersey is ranked 40th for wind power, right? So unless you're living along the shoreline of New Jersey, which, I don't know how many of us live there, right? It's not going to be feasible, right? Because there's still going to be a delivery component if you're going to deliver the power inland, right? Which is what we're trying to eliminate, the delivery fees. But they figured out, right? Like, oh my gosh, someone is so smart that they figured out the sun comes up every day. And like every day the sun comes in the sky, and you really don't have to do much. Just make sure the panels are facing the sun. So that's what they figured out, and then boom, we have the Clean Energy Act, right? So after we go through the consultation, what happens is I set up the site survey. This is when a technician comes to your home, and he assesses 3 different points in your home. One, your roof. So he goes on top of your roof, flies a drone, do measurements, assess how old, how new in between your roof is, and if your roof is capable of sustaining. Solar panels are not heavy, but they're still assessing to see if it can withstand the weight of your array, right? An array is just 8 panels together. Maybe you have 2 arrays, 3 or more. Second thing is he goes into your attic to look at your structure, where your shingles are, your rafters in your roof, right? Is where your shingles are bolt into. It's clipped into your rafters. So they look for dry rot, wet rot, and if there's any cracked beams. All right. The third thing is your electrical panel. Most people have it in their basement. That's when you're using really load heavy appliances, like you're jogging a microwave and it trips a breaker and you have to go downstairs and flip the switch. So they go and assess that to see how old that is. If it's too old, they'll make a determination of whether they're going to disqualify you or whether they're going to go ahead and upgrade on at no cost to you. Because this is all um, it's all spoken, all the monies to do your upgrades are spoken for in your IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, the 369 billion. All right. So that typically takes about 30 to 40 minutes, starting outside, flying the drone, and then going inside into your attic and your electrical panel. Okay, so 2 weeks after. Now, these times that I'm giving you 2 weeks, for example, in some jurisdiction, it's a little bit quicker, and it also depends on the amount of work that needs to be done to your home. We can get the site survey results in about 2 weeks, 14 days. Some will be less. Homes that have very little work to be done, they can come inside of 7 days. You can get a report back. And this is where, I would come back to the homeowner, and I will actually show, because this is now where they came and did the measurements. So they're knowing exactly how the design will look, because the first design will be, tentative, right? Subject to changes. So at this juncture, after they did all their measurements and assessed every point that they needed to, then I would come back and do go over the design, the finalized design they'll send me, and anything that needs to be done. So for example, um, your electrical panel is awesome, right? It's new, 200 amp, 150 amp. The structure, your rafters in your roof is perfect, but your roof is bad. So they can say, okay, what we'll do is a couple of things. Either we disqualify you, okay, we're not going to work with you, or we'll go ahead and apply for subsidies on your behalf to get your roof done. So we'll take care of the roof for you. In some cases, you get 100% subsidized roof. In some cases, you get a deep discount, 70, 80, 90%. So, your roof might cost $10,000 and they say you're going to have to pay $2,000.
Wow.
Right? Right. So that's the design approval. From there, then we go into permitting. So now permitting is where we have very little control because we're going to go to your jurisdiction, whether you live in, wherever, your township, and apply for your permit. And if you've ever done upgrades to your home, you'd understand how long it takes for your city to apply to approve your permits. And then we go to the boss, which is either PSCNG, JCP&L. So what happened is the reason why I call them the boss, right? Is if they deny your system, there's nothing anybody can do because your system is backfed into the grid. You're not choosing to leave your utility, PSCNG, JCP&L, whatever. You're not going to leave them. Your system is independent in that it creates all of your power, but it also has to send PSCNG or the utility the excess. If you have a battery, I'm gonna explain. So if you have, let's say you have two batteries, sun comes up, hits the panels, charges your two batteries. The remainder, after it's charged, has to go somewhere. It goes to PSCNG. Or if you don't have any battery, it just goes directly to PSCNG. So they will be the people who are going to approve the permit. The town can approve your permit and say, okay, it looks good. You guys did awesome with the drawings, right? But PSCNG will be like, no, it's too big or whatever, right? It's completely up to them. And they have they have an incentive to get you to because they have a mandate to be 100% carbon free by 2035. However, they don't want to see that all of your power is coming from your solar panels, right? Which is exactly what we want. We want all of your power to come from solar panels. And then if there's, and they sit in the wings as the bank for you and just, keep your power for you. But they, of course, don't want to see, they want to make money because what, with your utilities, right? There are peak hours. In the morning when you're getting ready for work, and in the evening when everyone is getting home. They charge you the most. 1 o'clock in the morning when everybody's asleep, they charge you the least, right? It's money making. Right. So from after permitting, then we go to installation, which is the most anticlimactic time in this process, right? Because it takes 2 to 3 months actually for you to get installed, but it takes 3 to 5 hours for your actual installation, your panels to go on your roof. Right? So the installation is very short. It's the point where people are like, oh my gosh, they thought it was going to be an alien ship come down and there's aliens and hitting the panels on the roof. It's just like 4 guys, 2 trucks. They go up your roof on ladders and there's, 3 to 5 hours. At that juncture now, after they completed your installation, where you don't get turned on. Now you're 70% of the way through, right? Because there's a couple more steps. So the next step would be in 2 to 3 weeks after that installation, then your township will do an inspection. Since we send them a drawing of what your system would look like, what your system production is, then they would come by and see, okay, let's say we said 15 panels, they counted 20 panels, like we have to come and repair that, right? We have to come and remove the excess panel. We can't do that. So they're coming to see exactly what we did, if it's the same thing as the design that we gave them, right? And that's the township. After that, we have, and I'm almost done, right? This is my last slide, I think. We have another inspection from PSCNG. So PSCNG is gonna, of course, verify your production because each panel has a certain amount of watts. And if I tell them that I'm giving you a 10 kilowatt system, that's the size of the system, and they come out there and they see 10 let's say I say 10 kilowatt, right? And it's 10 panels. They come out there, they see 12 panels, and they calculate it to be like 12 kilowatt. They're definitely not going to approve that, right? So we don't have to come back and of course repair that, take off 2 panels. But yeah, they do the last inspection, and also if you're the meter on the side of your house, you know that little thing on the side of your house that's used to be spinning, now it's digital, right? They maybe you guys have gotten what do you call it, a letter or an email saying that they're swapping them out. You remember that? So the reason why they're swapping them out is twofold. It's called a net meter or a bidirectional meter. It goes both ways, right? Bidirectional. But I explain. So with you remember PSCNG, if you ever get a bill that says an E, like an estimate, it means they've never had a chance to read your meter, but they're estimating your usage based on the other homes in the area. So they can read now your system from their headquarters or their office. So they don't have to come out to read the meter. The second reason is that same meter actually keeps track of the amount of power that you're selling back or you're sending back to PSCNG when your system is on your roof. So it keeps track of how much you're using in your home, and it keeps track of how much you're sending back to the grid. So that will come on your statement every single month. Right. And then after everything is good with PSCNG, they give us what is called a PTO, a permission to operate. Right. That's when your system is actually turned on, the sun comes up, your power, your usage goes down. But one thing I want you to take away from this, right? So um, if you're using electricity, right, and PSCNG charges a range of different prices based on the time of day. With solar, you're going to get a price protection where that price never changes and it's predictable. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'll show you how predictable it is. Because with solar adjusts only 2.9% annually, one time a year, right? So let's say you start in January. It's going to adjust the following January by 2.99%. PSEG already announced that they're going up 17.17% in June. So I'll give you an example of what I mean, right? If you take out your calculator on your phone, right? Let's do this for me real quick and I'll show you. If you're paying, for example, just arbitrary numbers, right? You're paying $150 annually, monthly for PSE&G. And then you spoke to a solar consultant and they gave you a price of $100. That's a $50 saving, right? Okay. I'll show you how you'll see every single year what your bill is going to be, which you can't do with PSE&G. Every single year, you're actually going to be able to see what you're going to pay. So let's say $100, right? We're going to do times to 1.0299, right? And press equal. What do you get? So that's the second year. The first year is $100. The second year is $102.99. Press equal again. What does it say? So the third year, you're paying 106. You can do this to 50 years. You're gonna know exactly what you're paying every single month. You'll never get any surprises. And you can do this for however long you want, and it'll show you exactly what you're paying. Or which is one of your biggest utility, right? So I think that's it for TED Talk. How do they make money? Okay.
Repeat that. Would they ask you a question?
What's the question again, Doc?
How do you make money? So,
Okay. So how does the question that Apostle asked is how do we make money from solar? Are we talking about the individual, the company, or the state, or PSEG? The salesperson. Okay, so we work typically on commission. So we make money based on the amount of savings that we're giving the homeowner. So I don't know the exact because they have the calculation behind the scenes, right? I just put in the information and they spit me out a number. So for example, if you're paying $150 and they gave me $100 as your payment or $99 as your payment, I'm going to make a commission based on that. If they give me $80, it's going to be based on that. So it's varying, but it's a commission.
do you know how much commission? You won't know.
No, you don't know until that appointed time, until you're sitting there making the design. Well, you're not making the design, you're requesting a design and they'll send you the design. They'll also send you the numbers. And then it's based on what that price point is for the homeowner. So if I go a little bit higher, your bill is $300. If I go to $200, it's a different price from 170, which is a different price from 150, is a different price from $100. So you really don't know exactly how much until you're sitting there in front of the homeowner.
So are you able to make good money doing this?
Yes, you're able to make very good money. So with the company I work with, other companies have different models. My company is 1099 contractor, and we handle the entire spectrum from knocking on the door to installation. We actually handle the entire process. The process is lengthy, so I guess they compensate us very well. But average, I believe, is anywhere from $3,000 to like $6,000.
Professor?
Can be, that's the average, I would believe, but it can be a lot lower and it can be a lot more also. So that's, I just feel like that would be the average range.
So what are the qualifications that a person has to have to become a salesperson?
Okay, so there's no qualification. I know.
Repeat the question.
Okay, yes. So Apostle asked, what are the qualifications to become a salesperson for solar? So solar has been taken off, like I said, more intensely the past 5 years, but better part of 10 years, and way before that, right? Um, what they do is you have what's called, so my company set up like a football team where we have a combine, right? If you're in football, you understand what a combine is. So the combine is where they give you goals for you to achieve. And if you actually hit those goals or go above, then you're drafted. You're drafted to the company. That entire combine process is 120 days. What's that, 4 months? So you got 4 months of intense training. You have to be outside, knocking on doors, sunshine, rain, snow, dark, cold, any kind of environment, you have to be out there knocking on doors. So that's kind of what, and then of course they give you all of the language, right? So they give you your exact presentation at the door when you're speaking to the homeowner. They also give you your exact presentation while you're sitting at home with the homeowner. So they actually give you everything. They give you the objections, right? They let you know the most, I think it's like 12 of the most common objection. Oh, I'm busy, not interested, we're moving. They give us all of the objection handles for every one of those objections. So they really prepare you for based on data too. We're talking about a company that is nationwide in almost 50 states. We're not quite at 50, but almost 50 states. So they have the data that shows if you hit this metric, you'll be successful. Or if you hit this metric, you actually hit this level because we have different level. We have club, core, and premier, and then franchise. And these are different level of appointment that you've set, installs that you have, and stuff like that. So you're very prepared.
Is there any, okay. Do you know the percentage in the Hebrew or the Black community? Would you happen to know the top of your head or no?
Okay, so Apostle asked if I knew the percentage of Hebrews that are in the sales environment, right?
Well, know that are purchasing it. So,
Oh, okay, so majority of my business are with Hebrew people, Haitians, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Americans, Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, stuff like that. Majority of my business are with Hebrew people. So yeah, I have very few. I have a couple of Filipinos, Caucasians, but for the majority, it is, and the highest percentage is Haitian people too. I'm gonna tell you, the early adopters, they actually see because they use it a lot. There's a saying that I heard. I had a consult with a gentleman the other day. His name is I won't say his name, but the other day in West Orange, and he said that in Haiti they actually for their utility they actually pay for it to be off than to be on, right? Because it's off so much time in the day. They actually are paying for it to be off, which is striking, right? Because like in Jamaica we don't really have issues like that. But they understand that in Haiti, they use this a lot. Right? In Africa, they use this a lot. In Jamaica, they use this a lot too. So yeah, the majority of my business, I would venture to say 95%, 98% are Hebrew people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I took a look at the company stock and think it's a good buy right now.
Also, Brother Mang asked if Sunrun stock is a good buy, buy right now. Maybe I'm biased, right? But
You win?
I'm going to tell you, the evidence, right? So I used to work with another company that went under,
Uh-huh.
Sun Power. I worked also with another company that was a dealer for another company called Sonova that is actually in the process of going under, right? In the process of in the dirt now, right? Bankruptcy, right? So for Sunrun, from what I have seen and what I've been told, right? We have, and these companies didn't have the credit facility because there was so much risk. They were doing deals that we wouldn't do. For example, if a home wasn't the best thing for solar, these companies will push to do it. Our company would rather say, listen, nice to meet you, we're gonna go. What I've seen with Sunrun, we're very picky because we're putting $1 million insurance on the equipment on your home, on the roof, which comes with a whole bunch of warranty, workmanship warranty, penetration warranty, performance warranty, which, guarantee. You're right. So we're a lot more picky. I think it's the term is risk averse. I think, I don't know if that's a term. Right. So or we're trying to do clean deals. So that's why you'll see most of the other companies, their salespeople actually walk around in the community. For us, we actually drive because we're picking the best home on this block for solar or the best 4 or 5 homes on this block for solar. We're going there to knock.
You serve, industrial, do you have any industrial customers or commercial?
Oh, I wish, no. Brother Man just asked if we have any industrial customers. No, we're solely a residential installation company, residential solar only.
How do you go about picking those homes that you're gonna target?
Sister Fifty just asked, how do I go about picking the homes that we for solar? First thing that I do is look for the home, and we can go on Google Projects on Roof. You all can do this. Google Projects on Roof, put in your address, right? Google Project Sunroof, put in your address. You're gonna see the amount of sun hours that you have. So typically, if you have 700, which we really don't go for, right? If you have 700 the lease, you can actually go solar. We typically go for homes that are 1,000 sun hours annually to like 1,500. So if you go on the website I just told you, you'll see the homes that are glowing. There's no trees around, and you'll see that in places like Union, Hillside, that have little trees, right? They're just getting smashed with sun. That's how we start. And then of course, we're gonna look at the bill to see how much usage you have. So you have 300 kilowatt hour like per month or so. Yeah.
With the electricity?
Electricity, right. Also, kilowatt hour is how we measure the amount of electricity, like, or liquid is gallon.
So public service is basically a top.
Definitely. For wherever PSCNG is, for example, PSCNG in New Jersey and in Staten Island, they really have no competition. You have no choice but to go with PSCNG. So, but the thing is, they are run by what's called the Bureau of Public Utility, and they will propose, for example, listen, we want to raise our rates by 25%. And the Bureau can either say yes, no, or adjust down, or whatever. But they definitely are. You have no other options.
With one more question, because you didn't answer that question about the stock.
We're recording.
Oh yes, the stock, right? I'm a buyer, honestly. For the industry's thinning, we're going to prove that we're going to be the best in the industry. Nobody's going to have any other options when it comes to residential solar. We're buyers. The company actually gives us stock when we hit certain metric. So, and it's vested over, a year or so, I think. So I'm a big buyer, and there are people there. Even if I'm not buying, there's people like outside of the company giving you stock. There's people there who are taking their money and actually buying their stock, even when they give 5,000. Because if you hit a certain metric, you get 5,000, 10,000, 20, $25,000 in stock. That's vested over a certain period of time. So yeah, I'm a buyer all day, twice on Sundays.
That's the solar empowered, likes to electric and gas, and how does the move with gas now? Like, so what do you want to buy?
Say that again.
Um, is power, so solar power that you're talking about? Does it apply for both electric and gas? And then what about like Elizabeth Town gas, the gas?
Sister Khadija just asked, is having solar panel actually, affect also your gas usage, right? Your natural gas usage. So for solar, it's solely for electricity. Solely for electricity. So what would happen, for example, like you live in where you have PSCNG and Elizabethtown gas, right? So if you got all of your power from your solar, right, you would get a bill from PSCNG that shows that you still connected to the grid. I think it's $4 or $6 or something like that. But that's all you get from PSCNG. Your Elizabethtown gas, yes, it's still going to come regular unless you decide to upgrade, for example, your appliances like your stove, right? If you upgrade your stove, then all I would have to assess something like that, right? If I know that you're gonna buy a stove next month that's electric, I would make your system bigger, and the cause for me making your system way more than what you're actually using is because in a couple of months you're going to be using uh, a new electric stove or a new EV or something like that. Any other questions?